And I was like, no.
All right. We will look at that. All right.
My favorite laws.
Okay. So first, so to remind you guys, we won't have Bible study Sunday and we won't have Bible study next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of figured. Business meetings after church on Sunday morning.
Thank you. I'm gonna put that in my phone.
I figured you'd probably go before then, but
I don't know, sometimes Sunday, Frank, I'm talking like about noon.
right. I understand. I'm hoping it won't be an extremely long meeting, but we do have to do that. All right. So, we're going to continue. We're kind of going back once again to general laws. So we begin with this idea of what to do in case you have a murder that isn't solved. So somebody gets killed and it's clearly a murder, but you don't know who. Okay.
We have lots of them.
Right.
Yeah,
so if in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess, someone is found slain, living in the open country, and it is not known who killed him, then your elders and your judges shall come out, and they shall measure the distance to the surrounding cities.
Okay.
Just to figure out whose jurisdiction is kind of the idea.
That's awesome.
That's kind of the idea. Okay.
Like the first ever jurisdictional issues. That's kind of cool that they
and the elders of the city that is nearest to the slain man. Okay. So the idea is okay.
Oh, that's who that was.
So basically the idea is it's out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know who did it. So you find whichever city's the closest, and then they have to, and the elders that is nearest the slain man shall take a heifer, so a cow, a female cow, who's never been worked and that has not pulled in a yoke.
And it's not a heifer is one that's not bred, right? Also,
I think that's right, isn't it?
A heifer is a cow that's never had a baby,
like a 2-year-old.
Okay.
So, the elders of that city shall bring the heifer down to a valley with running water, which is neither plowed nor sown, and they shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister to him and to bless in the name of the Lord. And by their word, every dispute and every assault shall be settled. So now the priests and the priests and the Levites will come. And all the elders of that city nearest the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. So understand what is going on is they are making atonement for a death that they don't know who's guilty.
So why'd they break the heifer's neck?
Just to kill it. It's just the way that they killed it in this situation. I don't know the reason why it's a broken neck in this particular case, but notice at least this time, its blood isn't shed. Its neck is broken. Okay. And then the elders of the city, so all the leaders of the city come out. They're all out there. They break the neck. And then they all wash their hands over the animal and say, we swear before the Lord, we're not the ones who did this.
And nor did we see it.
Nor did we see it shed. Okay. So this is the reason that so if you want to understand the reason for this, it's this.
I totally get it.
The death of somebody having their blood shed. Okay. The Bible brings it under the discussion that the blood of the one who has been killed cries out to the Lord
for justice,
and it demands payment. Now, Does God know who killed them?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, but what this is saying is that whatever city is closest, they come out, it costs them a heifer. Okay. And they, as the elders of the city, say, we, as the leaders of our city, we didn't kill him and we don't know who did. Now, it doesn't say this, but there's at least an assumption that you are vowing before the Lord you didn't do it. So if you did,
That's what I was thinking. It's like taking a vow. It's like swearing on the Bible in court, right?
Or
I would
if
think.
you know who did and swear.
so if you swear falsely, then you've added a whole nother layer. Okay. Right. But the idea is it is somebody taking responsibility to atone for a death when you don't know who did it. And so, because the blood still has to be atoned for. And it says, you are purging the guilt of innocent blood from your midst. So it's not you're purging blood you shed, it's you're purging blood that you don't know who shed it. Okay. So it's kind of an important thing. You do right in the sight of the Lord, and it atones, it pays or covers the sin that you of this person being killed. Okay. And remember that when we talk about this, it may not have been a Hebrew that killed them.
Yeah.
It literally is
somebody from a different
Right.
jurisdiction that killed him and just.
But the blood is still has to be paid for. Okay. Now, the next one is a discussion of war. It says, when you go out to war against your enemies, and by the way, anytime it brings this up and talks about this particular idea, what it's talking about is you are going to war against enemies that are not part of the land of Canaan.
I've got a subtitle here called Law of Marriage.
And that's what this is. But understand that on these rules, on this particular rule, we are talking about if they went to war against Ammon, not if they go to war against the Canaanites. Because if it's the Canaanites, everybody's supposed to die.
Even the women.
Okay. So in this case, it's you going out to war against the Midianites or something like that. And so let's say that the Lord gives them into your hand and you take them captive. Okay. And you see amongst the captives a woman who is beautiful. And you want to marry her. You decide you want to marry her. So when you and this gives the rules, when you bring her into your house, she will shave her head and she'll cut her nails short. Okay. And then she will take off the clothes in which she was captured and put on clothes from your own home. So she will take off the clothes of a captive and put on the clothes of the wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Then she shall remain in your house and lament her father and mother for a full month. So this is literally the discussion here, and it's crazy that it works this way. But you have a unmarried woman who is captured, and you say, I want to make her my wife. And remember, in that culture, there is a level at which sometimes women were treated as property. There's really no other way to say that. So here's what you have to do. She cuts her hair off. She cuts her nails short. She changes her clothes, and then she's given a full month to mourn for her father and mother who died in the battle, or however that worked, for having to leave her father and mother, whether they died or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Because she's been taken as a captive and then moved into the marriage and not.
She really don't know what happened.
She really don't get it
Right.
say or have or
Could be regarding the fact that she's gonna have to live with this guy.
Right.
yeah.
But then it goes on and it says, after that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. So once you've done that, you can assume all the responsibilities of husband.
Yeah. After a month.
If later you decide you no longer delight in her, then, and this is what it's saying, you can divorce her. Okay. In this time frame. But then it says you can't treat her like she's a slave.
Nope. You shall let her go where she wants.
Okay. So if you decide you no longer want her as your wife, you have to let her go free. Because you've humiliated her.
Because you married her and then divorced her, huh?
Well, because you humiliated her. You took away her. And by the way, it's not absolutely the case in this situation, but some of this idea is that she's a virgin.
Oh, yeah.
And you have taken that away from her, and now you've decided you don't want her anymore. And so
she's like used goods.
And you can't treat her like she was a slave.
Gotcha.
See, if you want her to be a slave in your house, then that is perfectly okay. But if you decide to marry her, she can't be a slave. She can't put her back.
You can't say, oh, I'm tired of you. You gotta go back and be a slave now.
Mm-hmm. Because you've humiliated her.
Gotcha.
Okay. And by the way, let's make sure we understand when you compare that to the cultures around them, that is very different. Okay. It certainly would not have been the case of the Canaanites that they would have had something that said you have to let them go free. They'd have just moved him back into the slave house and sold him.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have a discussion of inheritance. And by the way, this is this is actually discussing something that happens within Genesis. But if a man has two wives, okay, now I'm going to bring this up really quick before we move on. The Bible, there are people within the Bible who have more than one wife. There is never any point in the Bible where you see that as a good idea. It never really goes well. Okay. Man has two wives. One loved, the other unloved. Now, let me ask the question. Where do we see this in the book of Genesis?
I don't know. Oh, wait. The one that couldn't have the baby. And I don't remember their names. But she couldn't have a baby, so she gave her their handmaid.
Jacob.
Yeah.
It's Jacob. So the 12 tribes of Israel fall under this rule. Okay. Although, as kind of funny, they are setting a rule that Jacob didn't abide by. Okay. So. Well, and what it says is if a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and both the loved and the unloved have borne him children, and if the firstborn son belongs to the unloved. Okay. That is exactly the story of Rachel and Leah. Now, Rachel was beautiful and he loved her immensely. Leah, it describes her as having weak eyes. And we don't know exactly what that means, but apparently she was not nearly as attractive as Rachel. And the level was incredible difference in the amount that he loved them. So the oldest is one of Leah's children.
Why did he marry Leah if he didn't?
He got tricked into marrying Leah.
I thought that was David.
Did he marry Leah first and then?
So yeah, and then Rachel second. So Leah is the older sister. Leah's the older sister. Rachel's the younger sister.
The father said you got.
Well, he tricked him.
Yeah.
So Jacob fell in love with Rachel, and he worked 7 years for Laban to marry Rachel.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then it came the wedding night. He got Jacob drunk and sent Leah in instead of Rachel. So he consummated with Leah, and then the next morning came, you gave me the wrong one. Well, it wouldn't have been right for the younger to get married first. Work another 7 years for me, and then you can
have her too.
I'll go ahead and give you Rachel too, and if you'll promise to work another 7 years for me. So he got snowed to get the second wife.
Okay, gotcha.
But then by the time it's all over, he actually had 4. Because
That's a crazy man.
Leah, so Rachel couldn't have kids. So the Lord closed her womb because of Jake. And by the way, this is kind of how it phrases it. Because Leah was unloved and Rachel was loved, the Lord kind of closed Rachel's womb and gave Leah children. And he gave her, I think, 3. And then she stopped having children. Well, then Leah gives Jacob her handmaiden as a concubine, and she bears him a couple of kids. And then Rachel gives him her concubine, and he has another couple kids. Then there is a moment where, and by the way, this is how the story goes. It is Rachel's night to be with Joseph, or to be with Jacob. And one of Leah's children go out and pick mandrakes. So reeds.
Okay.
And in a superstitious area, there was a belief that mandrakes helped with fertility. And so Rachel goes, I want some of those mandrakes, hopefully so that I become fertile. And Leah goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you some of my son's mandrakes if you'll let me go in with Jacob tonight instead of you, if you'll give me your day.
Basically. Okay.
And then Leah gets pregnant again.
That's why I was asking about mandrakes.
Yeah. And then
the Harry Potter picture.
And Leah gets pregnant again and has another kid. And then finally, after there are 10 boys and a girl, or no, 11 boys and a girl. Okay. Then it says, and the Lord remembered Rachel and opened her womb, and she had Joseph and Benjamin. So there are 13 sons and a daughter.
A lot of freaking kids.
A lot of boys.
But you're living in an agricultural society.
Well, we need all these boys. So they could.
They were extra hands.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we go forward, and by the way, some of this is important on another discussion. So Reuben disqualifies himself because he had an intimate relationship with one of the 2 concubines. So he basically slept with his dad's wife.
Which disqualified him from being
the heir. And by the way, when we talk about the heir in this case, it disqualifies him from being the heir of the line to carry on the line all the way to Jesus. There's a disqualification there. Then the next 2, Simeon and Levi, they killed a group of people because somebody molested their sister. And so that passed it on to Judah, who becomes the line that the king comes through. However, in the discussion of the inheritance, it is not any of Leah's sons who get the double portion of the inheritance. It's Joseph who is the oldest of Rachel's children. Joseph gets the double portion of the inheritance. He gets the right to the firstborn. Well, this is saying you can't do that. So it's saying, then on the day when he assigns his possessions as an inheritance to his son, he may not treat the son of the loved as the firstborn in preference to the son of the unloved.
Gotcha.
So he must choose his oldest child regardless of who's the mother.
Gotcha. Which he doesn't do.
Right. Okay. So then we go forward. So it says, but he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the first fruits of his strength. Okay. And by the way, that is an idiom for he is the first proof of his virility.
Yeah.
That's really what that means. Okay. So verse 18 then goes on and says, if a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father and the voice of his mother, and though they discipline him, will not listen to them, Then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the city at the gate of the place where he lives, and they shall say to the elders of the city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. So the idea is, if they have a child who is absolutely unwilling to follow the Mosaic law, although they have tried everything, and they bring him out to the elders and they kill him.
Make me take you to the elders.
You can't tell that to Lynette, by the way.
No.
Take you to the elders and they'll stone you. Okay, no. But so
Dang.
there is a reason though here. Okay.
Yeah, to cut that rebellious stuff out of the bloodline. I totally get
So
it.
it's the same thing as the discussion about if your right hand offends you,
Cut it
causes
off.
you to sin, cut it off. Okay. It seems really harsh, but so verse 22. Okay. If a man has committed a crime punishable by death and is put to death, and you hang him on a tree. Okay. So this was not a common way of killing in that time.
Hanging up from a tree.
Right. His body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall bury him the same day. For a hanged man is cursed by God. You shall not defile your land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance. Now, there is a lot to unpack here that we need to deal with. If a man has committed a crime punishable by death, and the way he is put to death is by hanging him on a tree, okay. Now, we count crucifixion would be death by hanging on a tree.
Oh, and I was just thinking about hanging from the neck on the
No.
tree. Like,
So when we talk about this comes up in this verse. For a hanged man is cursed by God. Okay.
so Jesus was cursed?
He carried our curse.
Oh, which is why he had to be on the tree.
Hmm.
Okay.
He held our curse.
Okay.
Okay. The curse of sin. He was sinless. He did not, by the way, if a man has committed a crime punishable by death, did Jesus actually commit a
No.
crime punishable by
No,
death?
he didn't.
Who did?
We all did.
We all did.
And Judah or whoever the guy that ratted on him was, like went and sold him for silver.
Okay.
Then hung himself.
But the idea here is that the curse, now understand, because we dig a little deeper into this. In Genesis chapter 3, what do we see happen? Mankind sins, and because of the sin, there is a curse.
Yep. Stickers and long painful childbirth.
And death.
Death, yes. Because we
Okay.
wouldn't have died before.
So, and we've talked a little bit about all the symbols that bring into this. He's hung on a tree because he has become the curse for us. The crown of thorns. He's the king of sin.
Yeah.
Okay, all of that. But notice verse 23. If you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night on the tree.
And Jesus didn't remain.
Right. So he's hung on a tree. He dies at just before about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. Dusk is at about 6. And in that period of time, they bury him. They pull him off the cross and bury him.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is because the Passover Sabbath started at 6 o'clock, started at sundown.
Gotcha.
Okay. But Jesus didn't remain on the tree overnight.
Okay, I know this is, I can't get it out of my head though. I know this is weird and probably way off the subject. Like, so it's saying if you leave them on the tree, you're cursed too? Or
So what it is, in this case, it is simply giving instructions
on how to do
for
it.
how to deal with it.
Because I keep going to, because my brain keeps, because I'm weird that way, keeps flashing to the pictures I've seen of like the KKK members that hung people from trees and left them there for like
Right.
till they rotted. And I'm thinking, well, good, maybe they should get extra cursed because they left the bodies hanging on the tree. But if that's not the case,
Well, but understand. So let's make sure we understand. There is a level of that. It is not saying specifically. So what it's saying is if you leave their body there overnight, then you're sinning.
well, they're sinning in the first place. And I guess there's no extra
Well,
sin
no, but the person who leaves them there
is sinning.
is guilty of disobeying the law of God. Okay. Now let's deal with the discussion of that. That the hanging and leaving them up is a part of history that was used as an example. Okay, so they left your rotten corpse up so that everybody who walked by, it would be an example of what would happen to you. Well, God is saying, no, don't do that. Okay.
They even used to put people's heads on pikes.
Yes.
I don't know about the KKK, but I know, but in history, they used to cut people's heads off and stick them on pikes. Were they made of wood? Would that count as leaving them hanging on a tree if their heads on a
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I'm sorry. It's weird crap going through my brain right now.
I understand it happens. I get it. Okay. But the idea was that, and watch, there's another reason here. You shall not defile your land. Okay. So
the land that God's given them is sacred.
So
sacred.
Understand, okay, that part of this is also the discussion. And by the way, let's deal with it from a current point that may not have been true at this time, but currently Jews believe you had to be buried the day you die.
Yeah.
They don't wait.
Yeah, because Tara was all freaked out about how to do that with her mom.
Defile. So having a body rotting on a tree,
or even just rotting on the ground,
is
defiling the land. But the tree.
Now, by the way, don't miss the fact that there are two New Testament stories that fall into this discussion. Judas hung himself.
Yes, on a tree.
Now, there are two stories as to what happened, and to put them together, it's kind of fun. He hung on a tree and apparently was left there a little while. They went to cut him down, and when they went to cut him down, or eventually, or something to that effect, the rope broke and he fell and busted open. Because in Acts it says that he fell and burst open. And
really,
there are some gross stories.
Like, I must be missing all those, or I'm sleeping through them.
All right, so let's start 22. I don't know how far we'll get into 22 because I think we're all tired. All right. You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and ignore them. You shall take them back to your brother. Okay. Oh, here is the idea. Okay. You do not get to just ignore your brother in need.
Yeah.
Okay. If his ox or sheep has gone astray,
Or if your cow got out.
yeah, if your cow's wandered down the highway.
Say, hey, your cows are out.
I stopped at random houses with Mary because there's big cows out. We just go to the closest one to the field.
Yeah.
It's like, are these your cows? Do you know who they are? I would hate to
Okay.
hit a cow.
If he doesn't live near you or you don't know who he is, you bring it to your house and it stays with you until your brother seeks it.
You know
The-
what that makes me think of? They accuse you of stealing them.
Well, and that is part of the discussion here. It stays with you until your brother seeks it, and then you give it to him as soon as he
had questions about it.
Hey, yeah, I got your cow. You shall do the same with his donkey or with his garment. Anymore, you're right. It might lead to them saying, "Oh, you stole my cow."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you know.
who it belonged to. Yep.
But if if you see a cow and you bring it home to your house and call the brand inspector and say, I got a cow that I found wandering, he has this brand. Can you tell me who it is? Then he can't really accuse you of stealing
That's
it
true.
if you searched for who the
Who the
owner was.
Yeah.
But you shall do the same with his donkey or with his garment or with any lost thing of your brother's, which he loses and you find, you may not ignore it. Okay. You shall not see your brother's donkey or his ox fallen down by the way and ignore him. You shall help him to lift them up again. And by the way, then verse 5, a woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God.
That's cross-dressing.
It is. Now, understand that really probably this falls under the same discussion of decides to wear women's clothing as a rule or decides to wear men's clothing as a rule.
Yeah.
You know, then it goes on. It says, if you come across a bird's nest in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, and the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. Okay. So, but the young you may take for yourself, that it may go well with you and that you may live long. So it's really talking more.
The babies.
You could take you could take the eggs or whatever. Okay. When you build a new house, okay, you shall make a parapet for your roof that you may not. What just happened?
What's a parapet?
A wall.
Okay. Thank you.
So that no one falls off your roof. It is literally that you may not bring the guilt of blood upon your house if anyone should fall from it. So in other words, if you have a wall and they fall off, you're okay. If you didn't have a wall, then you're guilty.
Because you didn't do anything to prevent them from falling off the roof.
Right. By the way, some of the rules are the same now. So if you have a swimming pool in your backyard, you have to take measures to make sure that a kid can't get in your swimming pool.
You have to have it fenced off.
Or you're liable.
I was on the swimming pool and I said no. I don't even be responsible for the kids coming out there.
Mm-hmm.
Plus having to keep it clean.
Right. That is kind of fun. You shall not sow now these are interesting. You shall not sow your vineyard with two kinds of seed, lest the whole yield be forfeited, the crop that you have sown and the yield of the vineyard. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together, and you shall not wear cloth of wool and linen mixed together. And then you shall make for yourselves tassels on the four corners of your garment with which you cover yourself. Now, some of these are simply rules to set them apart. Okay. But mixed fabrics were not allowed. They were unkosher.
And this is all just kosher laws, right?
Yes. Okay. All right. So then verse 13, we'll go ahead and finish this chapter. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, I took this woman, and when I came near her, I did not find in her evidence of virginity. Then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city in the gate.
Never mind. How are they going to prove that? Like, how do you even?
I don't know. There was a process there, and I don't know. Okay. It doesn't say. Okay.
In the chastity belt, we locked her up in all her life, I guess, maybe. I don't know. That's weird. It's just weird.
Mm-hmm. So, the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to marry, and he hates her, and behold, he has accused her of misconduct, saying, I did not find in your daughter evidence of virginity. And yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloak before the elders of the city. Okay. And so then if it's proven, then the elders of the city shall take the man and whip him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not divorce her.
That was like, that's why.
I understand.
What better?
Okay. But if the thing is true that she wasn't a virgin, okay, then they shall bring out the young woman of the father. Okay. Bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she's done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst.
Got you.
Okay. I will mention that it is possible, it says spread the cloak out. It is possible that part of their marital rituals were such that they would spread a cloak in the marital bed.
Blood.
And so if she was a virgin, there would be blood.
And if she wasn't, there wouldn't be. Oh, that makes sense.
That it's not completely clear, but that is part of that. Okay. If a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die. The man who lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. Okay. If there is a betrothed virgin, okay, she is engaged,
Yes.
and a man meets her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of the city, and you shall stone them with stones. The young woman, because she did not cry for help, though she was in the city. And the man, and the man seizes her and, I lost it, because she did not cry at the man, because he violated his neighbor's wife. Okay, so you shall purge the evil from your midst. But if in the open country a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. She's committed no offense. What?
So basically, if you're going to get raped, do it in the country where nobody can.
So, but
Like,
but understand the discussion here. Okay. Part of the discussion here is motive and evidence. Okay. You're in a city. Okay. A crowded city. If she screams that she's being raped, somebody should hear
and should help.
and should
In
help.
theory.
Okay. So in other words, if no one heard it, if she can't prove that she screamed and no one heard it, then you have to assume she was willing.
Really, yes.
Okay. But if it's in the middle of nowhere, right.
Because nobody's there to hear it.
Right. Okay. She has done no offense punishable by death. For this case is like that of a man attacking and murdering his neighbor, because he met her in the open country, and though the betrothed young woman cried for help, there was no one to rescue her. Okay. Then if a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he violated her. And he can't divorce her. Okay. A man shall not take his father's wife, so that he does not uncover his father's nakedness. Okay. We're going to stop there.
Okay.
Take those grapes and